Earth, once the cradle of humanity, now stood as a desolate alien world. The sky was tinged with a sickly pink hue, and the remnants of human civilization lay reduced to rubble. The air was thick with the acrid stench of smoke and decay, a grim reminder of the cataclysm that had befallen the planet. The invasion had been swift and brutal, the alien forces overwhelming Earth's defenses with ruthless efficiency. Amid the ruins of what was once New York City, Alex Walker moved cautiously. He was one of the last survivors, a ghost in the shell of a once thriving metropolis. His dark hair was matted with sweat and grime, his blue eyes scanning the surroundings for any sign of danger. He had learned to trust his instincts. They had kept him alive this long. The aliens, known as the Zix, had come without warning. Their ships darkened the skies, their weapons unmatched by anything humanity could muster. Within days, the great cities of Earth were reduced to smoldering ruins, and the human race was driven to the brink of extinction. Alex had lost everything: his family, his friends, his home, but he had not lost his will to survive. Alex's journey through the city was a grim one. He scavenged what he could from abandoned stores and homes, always wary of the patrolling Zix drones. The drones were relentless, their searchlights cutting through the darkness, seeking any remaining human life. Alex knew that if he was found, there would be no mercy. He slipped into an old, half-collapsed building, his movements silent and deliberate. Inside, the air was musty, the walls covered in graffiti, and the floors littered with debris. He moved to a corner where he had stashed a small supply of food and water. It wasn't much, but it was enough to keep him going. As he ate a stale piece of bread, Alex's thoughts drifted to the past. He remembered the final days before the invasion, when the world was filled with fear and uncertainty. The news had been full of reports about strange sightings in the sky, but no one had truly believed an invasion was imminent. By the time the Zix struck, it was too late. His reverie was interrupted by a noise outside. He froze, listening intently. The sound of footsteps echoed through the empty streets, accompanied by the faint hum of a drone. He quickly gathered his belongings and moved deeper into the building, his heart pounding. He found a hiding spot in the basement behind a stack of old furniture. The darkness was suffocating, but he remained still, barely daring to breathe. The footsteps grew louder, then stopped. The drone's hum was closer now, its searchlight piercing through cracks in the walls. Minutes passed, feeling like hours. Finally, the footsteps resumed, moving away from the building. The drone's hum faded into the distance. Alex exhaled, his body relaxing slightly. He had escaped detection once again. Emerging from his hiding spot, Alex knew he couldn't stay in the city much longer. The Zix were tightening their grip, and resources were dwindling. He had to find other survivors, to regroup and plan a way to fight back. There were rumors of resistance groups forming in the countryside, far from the prying eyes of the Zix. With renewed resolve, Alex set his sights on the horizon. He would not let the Zix extinguish the spark of humanity. As long as he drew breath, he would continue to fight, to survive, and to hope. The journey ahead would be perilous, but he was ready to face whatever challenges lay in wait. Alex gathered his supplies and set out at dawn. The city was a labyrinth of destruction, each step fraught with danger. He moved swiftly and silently, avoiding the main streets where Zix patrols were most active. His goal was to reach the outskirts of the city, where the ruins gave way to open countryside. The first day was grueling. Alex navigated through collapsed buildings and debris-filled alleys, always alert for signs of danger. He encountered several drones, narrowly avoiding detection each time. The drones were persistent, their searchlights sweeping over the rubble with mechanical precision. But Alex's instincts and training kept him one step ahead. As night fell, he found refuge in an abandoned subway station. The underground tunnel was damp and cold, but it offered a safe haven from the prying eyes of the Zix. He ate a small meal and settled down to rest, his mind racing with thoughts of what lay ahead. Sleep was elusive. The constant threat of discovery weighed heavily on him. He knew the journey to find other survivors would be long and arduous, but he was determined to press on. The hope of finding others, of joining forces and fighting back, kept him going. The next morning, Alex resumed his journey. The outskirts of the city were less heavily patrolled, but the signs of devastation were still everywhere. Burned-out cars and crumbling homes lined the streets, a stark reminder of the war that had been fought and lost. After several days of travel, Alex finally reached the edge of the city. The open countryside stretched out before him, a vast expanse of fields and forests. It was a welcome sight, a symbol of freedom and possibility. He took a deep breath, savoring the fresh air, and began his trek through the wilderness. The days blended into weeks as Alex journeyed through the countryside. He encountered the occasional Zix patrol, but they were less frequent than in the city. The rural areas offered more opportunities for hiding and scavenging, and he was able to find enough food and water to sustain himself. One evening, as he was setting up camp, he heard a noise in the distance. It was faint but unmistakable, the sound of human voices. His heart raced with excitement and apprehension. Could it be other survivors? He quickly packed up his belongings and moved toward the sound. As he approached, he saw a small group of people gathered around a campfire. They were ragged and weary, but alive. He stepped into the light, his hands raised in a gesture of peace. "Who are you?" a woman asked, her voice cautious but curious. "My name is Alex Walker," he replied. "I'm a survivor from New York City. I've been searching for others like me." The group exchanged glances, then motioned for him to join them. As he sat by the fire, he listened to their stories. They had all lost loved ones and homes, but they had found each other and formed a small resistance group. Their leader, a man named David, welcomed Alex with open arms. "We could use someone with your skills," David said. "We've been planning to strike back against the Zix, but we need more people and resources." Alex nodded, feeling a sense of hope for the first time in months. "I'm with you," he said. "We'll fight back and we'll win, for Earth and for all of humanity." And so, beneath the starlit sky, Alex and the Resistance began to forge their plans. The road ahead would be filled with danger and uncertainty, but together they would face whatever challenges lay in wait. The fight for Earth's future had only just begun. Alex quickly integrated into the Resistance group, his skills and experience proving invaluable. They were a diverse group, each with their own strengths and talents. Some were former soldiers, others civilians who had taken up arms in the face of adversity. But they were united by a common goal: to reclaim their planet from the Zix invaders. The Resistance's base was hidden deep in the forest, a network of underground bunkers and tunnels that provided shelter and protection. It was a far cry from the life Alex had known before the invasion, but it offered a sense of community and purpose that he had sorely missed. David, the leader of the Resistance, was a former military officer with a sharp tactical mind. He and Alex quickly formed a strong bond, their shared experiences and mutual respect forging a deep friendship. Together they began to organize and train the group, preparing for the battles that lay ahead. The first order of business was to gather intelligence. The Zix were a formidable enemy, but they had weaknesses that could be exploited. Alex and a small team were tasked with scouting nearby towns and villages, gathering information on the enemy's movements and supply lines. Their first mission was a success. They discovered a Zix supply depot, lightly guarded and ripe for the taking. Under the cover of darkness, the Resistance launched a surprise attack, overwhelming the guards and seizing a cache of weapons and supplies. It was a small victory, but it boosted the group's morale and proved that the Zix were not invincible. As the weeks went by, the Resistance grew bolder. They launched a series of hit-and-run attacks, striking at the enemy's weak points and then disappearing into the wilderness. The Zix responded with increased patrols and brutal reprisals, but the resistance was always one step ahead. Alex became a key figure in the group, his leadership and courage inspiring those around him. He trained the members in guerrilla tactics, teaching them how to use the terrain to their advantage and how to outsmart the technologically advanced enemy. The resistance became a well-oiled machine, each member playing a vital role in their fight for survival. But the Zix were relentless. They launched a major offensive, determined to crush the resistance once and for all. The battle was fierce and bloody, the forest echoing with the sounds of gunfire and explosions. Alex fought with everything he had, his determination unyielding. In the end, the resistance was overwhelmed. One by one, Alex's comrades fell, their desperate fight against the invaders ending in blood and fire. David was struck down while covering Alex's retreat, his final words urging him to survive and continue the fight. The sounds of battle grew distant as Alex ran, tears streaming down his face as he realized he was now alone. The forest, once a haven for the resistance, was now a haunting graveyard of fallen heroes. Alex wandered through the trees, the weight of his loss pressing down on him like a physical burden. He had lost his new family, and with them, the hope they had managed to kindle. Days turned into weeks as Alex moved cautiously through the wilderness, avoiding Zix patrols and scavenging what little food and water he could find. He steered clear of towns and cities, knowing they were heavily guarded by the invaders. His only goal now was to survive, to stay hidden until he could find a way to fight back. The loneliness was oppressive. Without the camaraderie of his fellow resistance members, Alex felt the full weight of his isolation. He talked to himself to stave off the crushing silence, his voice echoing through the empty woods. Every now and then he would find a place that reminded him of his fallen friends, and he would stop to pay his respects, leaving a mark or a small token in their memory. One night, as he sat by a small fire, Alex found himself reflecting on his past. He thought of his family, his friends, and the life he had once known. The memories were bittersweet, a reminder of what he had lost, but also of what he was fighting for. The Zix had taken everything from him, but they had not taken his spirit. He would continue to fight, not only for himself, but for all of humanity. As the fire burned low, Alex heard a noise in the distance. His instincts kicked in, and he quickly doused the flames, blending into the shadows. The sound grew louder, a faint, rhythmic thumping. It was too regular to be an animal, too mechanical to be anything but a drone. Alex's heart raced as he realized the Zix were closing in on his location. He moved silently through the underbrush, every muscle tensed as he navigated the dark forest. The drone's searchlight cut through the trees, sweeping back and forth, searching for its prey. Alex knew he had to keep moving, had to stay ahead of the relentless machine. Hours passed, and the drone finally moved on, its hum fading into the distance. Alex found himself at the edge of a small clearing, the moonlight casting an eerie glow over the landscape. Exhausted and drained, he collapsed to the ground, his body trembling with fatigue. In the stillness of the night, Alex vowed to continue the fight. He was the last of the resistance, but he would not let their sacrifice be in vain. The Zix had taken everything from him, but they would never take his resolve. As long as he drew breath, he would keep fighting for Earth's future, no matter how long it took. The journey ahead was uncertain, and the road was fraught with danger. But Alex was ready. He would survive, he would adapt, and he would fight back for the fallen, for the future, and for the hope that still burned within him. The war for Earth was far from over, and Alex Walker was prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead, alone but unbroken. Alex's days became a blur of survival, each one blending into the next as he moved through the desolate landscape. He lived off the land, his skills as a scavenger and hunter keeping him alive. The nights were the hardest, the darkness amplifying his sense of isolation. But in the quiet moments, he would remember the faces of those he had lost and draw strength from their memory. One day, as Alex was foraging near a small stream, he stumbled upon a hidden cache of supplies. It was well concealed, buried beneath a pile of rocks and debris. His heart raced as he uncovered food, medical supplies, and, most importantly, a shortwave radio. It was a beacon of hope in his solitary existence. He carefully set up the radio, his hands shaking with anticipation. The device crackled to life, and he began to scan the frequencies, searching for any sign of human activity. Hours passed with nothing but static and the occasional alien transmission. Just as he was about to give up, a faint voice broke through the static. "Any survivors? Resistance? Safe haven? Coordinates?" Alex's heart leaped. He adjusted the dial, trying to clear the signal. The voice came through clearer, though still distorted. "This is Echo Base calling any survivors. We've established a safe haven. Coordinates are—" He quickly scribbled down the coordinates, his mind racing with possibilities. There were others out there, people still fighting, still resisting. The thought filled him with a renewed sense of purpose. He had to find them, to join them, and continue the fight against the Zix. The journey to Echo Base was grueling. The coordinates led him to the Rocky Mountains, a treacherous terrain filled with both natural and alien dangers. Alex moved cautiously, his every sense on high alert. The closer he got, the more signs of human activity he noticed, disguised paths, hidden markers, and the occasional trap meant to deter or capture invaders. After several days of grueling travel, Alex finally reached the outskirts of Echo Base. It was well hidden, a complex of tunnels and caverns carved into the mountain. Guards in makeshift uniforms spotted him and raised their weapons, but he held up his hands, showing he meant no harm. "I'm Alex Walker," he said, his voice hoarse from disuse. "I heard your broadcast. I'm here to help." The guards exchanged looks, then lowered their weapons. One of them, a woman with a stern expression, stepped forward. "Follow me. Commander Davis will want to speak with you." Alex was led through the winding tunnels, the walls lined with makeshift defenses and camouflage. The base was bustling with activity, people working, repairing equipment, and preparing for the next mission. It was a stark contrast to the isolation he had endured. In the command center, Alex met Commander Davis, a tall, grizzled man with a steely gaze. Davis listened intently as Alex recounted his journey and the fall of his resistance group. "You're a brave man, Walker," Davis said. "We've lost many good people, but we've also gained strength through unity. Echo Base is one of several remaining pockets of resistance. Together, we've been able to coordinate strikes against the Zix and keep hope alive." Alex felt a weight lift off his shoulders. For the first time in a long while, he wasn't alone. He had found a new purpose, a new family. He knew the road ahead would be tough, but with the support of Echo Base and the other resistance groups, they had a fighting chance. As Alex settled into his new role at Echo Base, he couldn't help but think of David and the others he had lost. Their sacrifice had not been in vain. The fight for Earth's future continued, and he would honor their memory by standing strong against the invaders. The war was far from over. Echo Base was nestled deep in the remnants of an old industrial complex, its underground tunnels and fortified bunkers providing a hidden sanctuary for the resistance fighters. The base wasn't large, but it was far from small, housing around 100 determined souls dedicated to the cause. It was a hub of activity where everyone had a role to play, from scavenging for supplies to planning tactical strikes against the Zix invaders. Alex entered Echo Base with a mix of relief and apprehension. The base was a hive of activity, with people bustling about, repairing equipment, sorting through salvaged materials, and strategizing for their next move. He was quickly introduced to several key members of the resistance. Mara, a fierce and resourceful scout who had survived numerous encounters with the Zix, was known for her quick thinking and agility. Dr. Alara, the base's medic, worked tirelessly to treat the wounded with limited resources. her knowledge of biology and medicine proving invaluable. Grayson, a former engineer turned resistance leader, was responsible for maintaining the base's infrastructure and developing new technologies to counter the Zix threat. Jax, a seasoned fighter and the base's combat trainer, trained new recruits in guerrilla warfare and hand-to-hand combat. Alex was assigned to work with Grayson in the engineering section, where he would learn to repair and modify equipment. This experience would be crucial for future operations, as the Resistance often relied on improvised solutions to stay ahead of the Zix. "Welcome to the engineering section, Alex," Grayson said, his hands busy with a circuit board. "We've got a lot of work to do. Zix tech is advanced, but it's not infallible. We can learn a lot from salvaging their equipment." "I'm ready to help. Just tell me what I need to do," Alex replied, eager to contribute. "Start by familiarizing yourself with these schematics," Grayson instructed, pointing to a table cluttered with blueprints. "We're working on a jamming device to disrupt their communications. It's not perfect, but it could give us an edge in our next raid." Alex spent days learning from Grayson, absorbing knowledge about circuitry, weapon modification, and the intricacies of Zix technology. He also trained with Jax, honing his combat skills and preparing for the inevitable confrontations ahead. The Resistance leaders gathered in the main briefing room, a dimly lit space dominated by a large tactical map spread out on the table. Alex stood among them, feeling the weight of the moment. Grayson, Mara, Dr. Alara, and Jax were all present, their faces set with determination. "We've got a plan," Mara began, pointing to a location on the map. "There's a Zix supply depot here, heavily guarded but critical to their operations in this sector. If we can take it out, we'll disrupt their supply lines and buy ourselves some much-needed time." "It's a risky move," Jax interjected, "but we've got the element of surprise. Our jamming device can disrupt their communications long enough for us to get in and do some damage." Dr. Alara nodded. "I'll be ready to treat any injuries, but we need to minimize casualties. We can't afford to lose more people." Grayson looked at Alex. "You've done good work on the jamming device, Alex. Now it's time to put it to the test." The plan was set in motion under the cover of night. The Resistance fighters moved out, their movements silent and coordinated. They reached the supply depot, a sprawling facility guarded by Zix soldiers and automated defenses. Alex and Grayson set up the jamming device, the hum of its activation sending a shiver down Alex's spine. The initial assault went smoothly. The Resistance fighters infiltrated the depot, eliminating guards and planting explosives. But as they prepared to withdraw, something went wrong. The jamming device flickered, its signal interrupted. Alarms blared and the Zix forces sprang into action. Chaos erupted. The Resistance fighters fought valiantly, but the Zix numbers were overwhelming. One by one, Alex saw his comrades fall. He fought alongside Grayson, their backs against the wall. "We need to get out of here," Grayson shouted over the din of battle. Alex nodded, covering Grayson as they made a desperate sprint for the exit. They stumbled through the debris and smoke, hearts pounding. When they finally reached the extraction point, only a handful of Resistance fighters remained. Echo Base was a somber place upon their return. The loss weighed heavily on everyone. The survivors gathered in a small, dimly lit room, the air thick with grief and frustration. "We were betrayed," Mara said, her voice trembling with anger. "Someone tipped off the Zix." Dr. Alara shook her head. "We need to find out who it was. We can't let this happen again." Grayson looked at Alex, a flicker of determination in his eyes. "We will rebuild. We will find the traitor, and we will continue to fight." As the days passed, Alex found himself consumed with thoughts of the betrayal. He trained harder, worked longer hours, and grew closer to his new allies. Echo Base became his home, and the fight against the Zix his purpose. The knowledge he gained from Grayson and the bonds he formed with Mara, Dr. Alara, and Jax would be vital in the battles to come. Despite the recent loss, hope flickered within Echo Base. They had survived another day, and as long as they stood together, they would continue to resist.